Welcome to SMFMS Bookends, a satellite show for Save Me From My Shelf, coming out every week after our proper episode. On this show, we read listener letters, answer questions, include extra analysis and episode outtakes, and have a brief chat about the things we're currently reading, watching, or playing. Hello, you are listening to SMFMS Bookends. Dennis the Menace over here is Daniel.
Come on, that's an easy one. Dennis the Menace, who's just kind of a sweet little boy with blonde hair and doesn't bully other people, is Abby.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's a British Dennis the Menace and a US Dennis the Menace, both comic strips. I think they were developed independently at exactly the same time, and the mean British boy has ugly brown hair, and the lovely American boy has nice golden hair.
You can learn a lot about the two cultures, though, can't you? Because it's all like, oh, get off my lawn, Dennis. You know, it's all suburban and kind of whimsical. And then Dennis the Menace in England, he's got this like horrible, violent dog. It's very like WC, and it's like these like Scottish tenements. You know, I love Dennis the Menace though, our one.
But that's a bit of a factoid for people, is that there are actually two. So I thought that'd be kind of a cute.
He and I have similar haircuts, actually.
You do, actually.
Yeah.
Daniel, could we get on with the show?
Sorry, yeah. Well, we're talking. You have to talk about what you read and stuff. This is something I've read.
I'm just saying, we've made it one bullet point in, which is introduce ourselves.
Yeah. Where's my little script, actually? There it is.
Okay, should we get to some listener letters, please?
Yes, please.
Can I start with something that has just come in to my Facebook, hot off the presses? We have two messages from my friend James, who listens to the show. One is an audio clip after he listened to our Grapes of Wrath episode, and I've gotten his permission to play that audio here.
Wow. Second audio clip from a fan.
We're really making it. This is how you know it's big time.
A multimedia powerhouse.
Anyway, James says,
while I was listening to the latest episode of Save Me From My Shelf, the bus that I was waiting for went right by me, and now I'm waiting for an Uber outside of a Popeye's Chicken, and I think I truly understand now what the Jodes went through.
And then he wrote in on my Facebook in a private message. Again, I have his permission to read this. And he says, and I thought you'd like this, Daniel, because you were just bitching about it the last episode. I did a bad. I Googled what your SMFMS co-host looked like. How dare he be so cute? I was already listening this whole time, shouldering the burden of knowing how stunning you are. And now this? Which I thought was a delight, because Daniel wants to be objectified as much as I do.
Yeah. It's called feminism. Let's lower everybody to the same harsh standards.
So are you pleased now? Or are you feeling like you got a bit of your own back?
That's a relief. Well, it's not really an own back, is it? Because you still got complimented, but...
It's not a zero-sum game.
It actually is.
Oh, okay.
That's the true meaning of feminism,
I didn't realize that my beauty takes away from yours.
Yep. Great, well thank you, James.
My question, James, is what picture did you use? Because, you know, somebody might have hit the wall in the intervening years.
Let's just leave it as it is, okay? I don't think I've changed that much in the last few years anyway.
Okay, what other letters do we have?
Here we go. Start with this long one, shall I?
Sure, who's it from?
Patty.
Go on.
Frequent flyer Patty. Hey, Abby and Daniel.
Hey, yourself!
Great discussion of The Grapes of Wrath. I especially appreciated the introduction to Steinbeck's wife and her role in making the book happen. I remember this well as the book I chose for my first critical review as a freshman in high school. I chose it because I wanted to let my English teacher know I was ready to take on real literature.
Oh, we've all had that moment in our life of like, I'm not like the other kids, no, take me seriously.
Yeah. Pretty sure I included an exposition of the Turtle on the Road chapter, HST. And that's still the first thing I remember when I think of the book. I think the perspective shifting from chapter to chapter may have been my introduction to looking at a book as more than a simple linear story. I'm also pretty sure that my 15-year-old brain couldn't quite take in the final scene with Rosa Shan nursing the starving man, because I had no memory of it over the years, and it surprised me when I reread it as an adult. And you cut me saying that it was Roman charity, which is another sort of symbolic reference in the text.
Maybe I'll cut this too.
Okay. As a mom, I found the ending moving and thought-provoking, though I was still a bit weirded out. It is moving, isn't it, I think?
It is very moving, but again, I think I read this when I was 15, and we weren't mature enough to do anything other than make jokes. It's such a poignant moment that I think is, because there's a boob in it, it's lost on teenagers.
Well, it is a bit weird, isn't it?
It is.
But that's what makes it so moving.
Yes, yeah.
One thing that struck me as a California transplant, after childhood in the rural Midwest and early adulthood in Philadelphia, is that California continues to be a near mythical place for most of the country, looming large in both physical reality and TV-fueled imagination, ready to take newcomers by surprise, though not always in such a bleak way. So as you said, this story still resonates on multiple levels.
What I find really interesting is you're absolutely, like, I definitely see that California still has this mythical status. I think about Mad Men whenever they go to California and everything is bathed in this golden light, and even his wife looks hotter in California, and, you know, all this crap. What I have noticed is that Vermont is gaining that status. I've been toying with writing an article for years about how it's not quite the land of golden plenty that California is, but it's like it's seen as this fantasy escape from the horrors of the modern world. It's this nice place where we can go and just be simple folk and no one will bother us, and it's like this escape from modernity.
But then it's also got like a socialist senator and stuff, so I suppose it seems like a kind of, you can have that kind of American homesteading dream but without being a fascist.
Yes, yeah. It's just interesting parallels I noted anyway between the two. But thanks, Patty.
Yeah, it was a good letter. Yeah.
What else do we have in terms of listener letters?
We have a letter here with the subject heading, "Not Portuguese."
I knew we'd get some pushback.
Hi, Abby and Daniel. This is from Madalena, who wrote in, I think, about anti-Semitism in
Ivanhoe.
It was a very good letter, wasn't it? We were focused on whether Madalena could be Portuguese.
I think you were
in keeping with the ongoing Portuguese. Anyway, just wanted to clarify from my last email that I am not Portuguese. I'm Canadian, but my dad is Italian and my mom is Dutch. I have been told, though, that there is a Portuguese island called Madalena, so I understand the confusion. Love from London, Ontario. So, I think what's going on here is there's been a bit of fibbing in the family dynasty. There's obviously a family secret.
That they're secretly Portuguese?
I think that's probably what's going on. I think that's what's going on. Madeleine, I think next time you go and see your parents, have a little chat with them.
Do a 23andMe.
Yeah, have a little chat with them and
Daniel, honey, you were like an ugly stepsister trying to make the shoe fit. Not everyone is Portuguese. Well, thanks, Madalena, even if Daniel is crestfallen that he does not have yet another Portuguese band on the works. I think he's trying to get the whole Lusophone diaspora to fall in love with him one by one.
Also, I feel like this is annoying, all of the Lusophone.
Yes, it is.
Which I like.
I
want to... this is all about actually... It's called trashing the brand.
We have got to stop doing the Portuguese bit because I think it's stressing them out. What other letters do we have?
This is one from Bethy. Hi, I love your show. I home educate my kids and have a middle school boy who's not a big reader. I think he would really enjoy your take on lots of books. It would be awesome if you could put out streamlined episodes like You're Dead to Me has, about 30 to 40 minutes long, and for a younger audience. Because a bit too much effing and jeffing, a bit too much of that.
We do F and Jeff a little bit on this, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I would in no way want to sanitize or declaw the literature or the analysis. It's more just about, it's pretty much you. You're the problem here. We don't mind if there's some funny stuff in Lolita, it's the stuff you say.
So, Bethy, I've actually thought about this because I was like, man, I would love to be able to cover books for sort of different age groups. I think it'd be a great way to sort of get younger readers on, on the sort of like English lit path. We are restricted by the amount of time we have. I think if we ever were able to do this full time, we would absolutely do it for different age levels. But at the moment, we're sort of restricted by our university and their sort of recruitment policies. So we do have to keep it to the sort of older levels, unfortunately.
I was just thinking, Bethy, do a fan edit. Like, when they got rid of Jar Jar Binks? Just do that, but get rid of Abby. The Jar Jar of this podcast. A couple of recommendations I have are A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Don't know what that is.
Oh, that's a very big American text. Most people read it in sort of middle school. Kind of like Where the Red Fern Grows, or The Giver. Daniel doesn't know any of these, but there are a lot of, like, sort of middle school classics.
Oh, right.
Bridge to Terabithia. Do you know
I know that
go.
one. Yeah, she died. I saw the film of that. It was sad, that. Warmly, Bethy. P.S. Abby, I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
About the colour purple movie.
Yay!
Because you said it was crap.
Well, everyone seemed to love it critically. I felt like there was something I was really missing. Because I thought it did a real disservice to the book.
It sounded bad from what you said.
That makes me feel a lot better, Bethy, because I thought it was just me.
I left the theatre, that's American for cinema, isn't it? I left the theatre livid. I love using musicals to help teach history and literature, but this movie will not be showing up in my curriculum.
That makes me feel so much better. Thank you, Bethy. And yeah, I'm really sorry that at the moment we can't provide episodes for a different sort of range of listeners. I appreciate that sometimes our comedy is a little on the blue side, which we do to specifically entertain much older teenagers, but could maybe alienate some of the younger ones.
I'm just wondering what Bethy's Portuguese lessons are like.
Daniel, oh my god. You know when one of our Portuguese listeners murders you one day, and I deliver your eulogy, I'm gonna say he died doing what he loved, flogging this to f***ing death.
Yeah.
Alright, we're wrapping this bit up.
Okay.
Was that was our last letter?
Yeah.
And now for our segment, Bad Goodreads Reviews, the remedial sessions. And today we are talking about The God of Small Things. I would advise that you avoid at all costs unless you like hating stuff, in which case you're most likely British. 1 star. The whole thing just didn't feel right, but there's definitely something there. Elfin and piping that people like. 1 star. What does that mean, please? According to me, it deserves just half a star because the author at least tried to write so many pages. 1 star.
And succeeded.
Alright, that's it. But you look like you had a good time with that one, Daniel.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I was getting some reactions from you.
Yeah.
And now, some outtakes from our episode on Alice's adventures in Wonderland.
I mean, that's booze, but not drugs, is it?
She drank some stuff. Who knows what was in that little bottle?
Laudanum. You can only get prescribed laudanum these days as a last-ditch attempt to cure diarrhea.
Really? And you were Googling this why?
I wanted to see if it was still a going concern, laudanum, because I associate it with Coleridge.
Yeah.
And then I read something recently, written in the 1920s, where someone took laudanum, and I was like, oh.
Opioids are supposed to be like a massive constipation thing.
Well,
the same with nicotine gum. I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe if you're constipated, you have nicotine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is the sort of adult version of, like, the kind of boring adult life version. Oh, I keep shitting. Now I can't shit enough, you know. Instead of being too tall or too short.
Okay, right.
I tell you what, I like just to be regular. I don't want either. Everything by moderation.
You have your Weetabix every day at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, and that just powers it out.
Jesus Christ. Okay, back to the book, please, for God's sake.
So, the Queen is inviting the Duchess to play croquet.
Have you ever played croquet?
Yes.
With a vicar?
No, and I played it on a slope, which certainly made things quite difficult.
That does not seem like the best laid plan.
No, I didn't want to play it, I was being polite.
Okay, alright.
Have you played it?
A couple of times, but you know how I'm Catholic, right?
I've heard.
Okay, well that was your very Protestant, very polite version of croquet. We played it at a family gathering.
Actually, I think I've heard this. Keep going.
Being Catholic, family gatherings involve a lot of drinking. So it turned quickly into full contact croquet. It got a little violent.
So you haven't played croquet is the answer. I think if a Catholic is present,
it
doesn't
negates.
Actually count as croquet. So, okay.
I love Victorian texts because they're always talking about boxing someone's ears. I have never known that to happen to anyone.
It used to scare me that as a child. I was like, how hard is this box? Like, what quite... Is it ever going to happen to me?
What does it mean?
I kind of thought it was like that.
Is it like two hands being slapped into the ear simultaneously, so it like...
Makes you go deaf.
Yeah.
Breaks your eardrum. Possibly kills you.
I don't... maybe that's a little severe.
No, it doesn't kill you.
Okay.
I will say, though, that a lot of this book seems to be about the harsh parenting standards of Victorians. Isn't
Oh,
it? Everyone's
yeah.
constantly just being really horrible like you imagine they would be to Victorian kids. You dull girl.
Yeah, they really... Alice takes a lot of shrapnel in this book, which I kind of like.
But she dispenses it as well, like, in the way
Yes.
that you could imagine a little Victorian girl would, like, do to a doll.
Yeah.
Oh, hush up, doll, you dull girl.
Alice can't quite get the knack of stiffening her flamingo, which is not a euphemism, but it...
It's like doing with Sid James. Stiffening old flamingo. What?
which is not a euphemism, but it should be.
Starting here, we're going to make it one right now. This is it. Come on, everybody. Listener, write in. Tell us how you used it.
How you used... the expression,
the phrase.
not the flamingo, quote unquote.
Use it figuratively, don't use it literally.
All right, now Daniel, let's transition to the Bad Sex Awards.
To the boudoir.
This segment is not safe for work. So this is a literary award that started in 1993 that celebrates the worst, most ridiculous, sometimes the grossest sex scenes in literature.
Of that year.
We have now moved on to 1997, and the winner for that year was Nicholas Royal from his book The Matter of the Heart, and that appears to be some sort of supernatural thriller set in a disused hospital.
Ooh, sexy.
So if you don't want to hear this, fast forward the podcast maybe 3 to 5 minutes. All right, Daniel, will you please read us the winning passage in your most erotic voice?
So yeah, this is my first time reading this. It's already funny because of the name, but but Ambrose banished the thought and reached for a condom. Yasmin grinned and writhed on the bed, arching her back, making a noise somewhere between a beached seal and a police siren. What's that then?
The girl sounds like a carnival ride.
Ooh, yeah. Do seals get beached? They go on the beach. That's not beached.
That's your point of contention with this?
What's just wrong in it?
Okay.
Beached whale. Anyway. And then he was there. Slowly at first. Dead slow. She liked that. He knew. Then speeding up. Gradually. To gain a rhythm until he was punching smoothly in and out of her like a sewing machine. Her noises increased in volume until she was producing a throaty ululation. Is that how you say that word? Ululation? Like,
Yeah.
Sort of like that. That's what she was saying.
Throaty if it's throaty, yeah. See, that's the problem is that I think you and I really want to imitate this for the comedic value, but we are in an office building right now. There are people working.
Wow.
Could you imagine us getting written up to HR for making sex noises in here and having to explain what we're doing?
But the point is that they never sound like
no,
that, do
I
they?
appreciate that, but like, if people are like they are making inappropriate noises in there, what
kind of noise? It sounded like some kind of throaty ululation.
It was somewhere between a beached whale and a police siren. I'm not really sure. Yeah,
that was duff. Like a sewing machine. They're not sexy, are they? Sewing machines?
No, sewing machine. It's so mechanical. But just because something goes up and down, and is a phallic symbol.
Well, hardly. A needle is hardly the sort of phallic symbol you want to be associated with.
Well,
also, it's feminine. I was thinking. Sewing machines.
This is rubbish.
I'm a big bloody bloke. I'm going at her like a sewing machine. You know what? It's not. You know. Sewing machines are such a faff as well, aren't they? Oh, you got to change the bobbin and.
Do you know how to use a sewing machine?
No.
It's really not that much work.
I'm sure it's easier than actually sewing. That's why they industrialised the process or mechanised the process. Nevertheless, I found all that bobbin stuff quite hard when I did it at school. It doesn't make me think of being in the mood. It makes me think of faffing with a bobbin. Whatever. It's crap. Well done, Nicholas Royal. Listener, write in. What's the best machine to be compared to?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And if you have any other bad sex scenes, I mean, we're on 1997. These aren't going to last forever. So I would love to amass a collection of other really bad sex scenes that you've noticed in fiction. All right, should we move on to some general questions or points?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've just done Alice in Wonderland. What other children's worlds do you personally find dark and twisted when they're not trying to be? The more sweet, sentimental things that you were like, this is a fucking nightmare.
I find Dr. Seuss a bit off-putting. But yeah, what about you?
For me, I find something incredibly sinister about Candyland.
The game. I don't think I've played.
Oh man, there was a summer where I was a nanny for these absolute nightmare children. Candyland was the only game that would keep them quiet.
The only game in town.
Well, but I just kept thinking every time I played it with them, I was like, it was making me viscerally upset. Where I was like, Lord Licorice is going to be found swinging from his neck by a Twizzler rope in the Peppermint Forest. Whoever finds him's going to have to chew him down. Like, it was making me go to, like, dark places.
They're all going to die of diabetes. Diabetes. That man. I love that. You know that guy who always says, I've got diabetes?
Wilfred Brimley, and you did not know who
I don't even know what that is.
Every time I play it, I feel like something unclean has happened to me. And I don't know why. And if anyone else has similar reactions to Candyland, I want to hear about it. Okay, by way of another question, again, I'm thinking about childhood, I'm thinking about reading and growing up. Were there any books you read as a kid that you weren't supposed to? Because this is, I think, a rite of passage, at least for people of our generation in America. You find a book, you whisper about it with your friends, you pass it around in people's lockers, all the dirty passages are dog-eared. There's always a book where you're just like, I am older now than I was 2 days ago.
I never really had that sort of thing. I think my parents were always quite liberal with what I could or couldn't read.
My parents were super liberal with the TV. They never checked what I was watching, but my mom was a lot more puritanical about what I read.
Okay.
And I thought that was so strange.
That is weird.
I got away with it by reading, like, fantasy or historical epics that had dirty bits in it that she was like, well, I'm not going to check this out. This seems really boring. I'm not interested.
Yeah, they never really... I don't think there was any kind of strictness on that front. And also, I don't think I was really that interested in seeking it out, to be honest.
I was, because I was told I couldn't.
It was so prohibited, yeah.
But for me, and I think many, many young ladies, for quite a few generations, actually, it was Flowers in the Attic.
Virginia...
V.C. Andrews, Virginia Andrews.
Yeah. That crap is for, like, preteens anyway.
Absolutely!
Yeah.
But it did spread a lot of misinformation. The brother, he's training to be a doctor. And I was like, well, he probably knows what he's talking about. And he says something to the effect of, because they have sex for the first time, and he's like, don't worry, Kathy, like, you can't get pregnant on the first try. I was like, oh, is that true? And it's like, no, that's not true. They're not even that dirty, actually, all things considered.
It's more just like sensationalistic, isn't it?
Because it's like a fade to black sex scene. And then after it's like, gee, that sure was swell sex, Kathy.
Sis.
Yes, sis.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've really got anything like that I wasn't really meant to read.
It probably helps if your parents talk to you about literature but don't forbid things.
Yeah.
I feel like that destigmatizes a lot of it.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, on my parents' bookcase, it's there now, I'm sure it was there.
Just full of Marquis de Sade.
No, but there was a book of, like, I think it was, like, Verlaine's erotic verse and stuff like that. There was all stuff like that there. Because it wasn't prohibited, I was like, well, I don't want to read that.
Yeah.
So, that's the secret, that's the liberal secret.
I think it probably is. Like, the less taboo you make stuff.
Look at this. I want you to memorise this book title and cover. This is sordid filth. Don't read it. Yeah. I'm just going to put it up here. I'm going to go out the house now. But promise me. Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Shall we move on to what you're currently reading, watching, playing?
Yes.
You better have some answers prepared and not stare at me blindly like you do every time.
I do have answers prepared. I actually brought something.
Okay.
Right, this is something I read this weekend. Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett.
Oh, I've meant to read that for ages. Is it good?
It's really good. I really enjoyed it. But listen to this.
Okay.
It's a hard-boiled sort of private detective story. But there's a line in it that made me think of The Grapes of Wrath. So, our unnamed private detective protagonist is blackmailing someone with some love letters.
Classic.
These letters, he goes, they're hot. I haven't laughed so much over anything since the hogs ate my kid brother.
Whoa!
First of all, what a horrible thing to say. Secondly, Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
That, as we both discussed, that was upsetting in the Grapes of Wrath. And this guy, he's laughing over it, and it was his own brother.
When was that written, actually? Because this is, I imagine, probably contemporaneous.
29, so earlier.
10 years earlier? Wow!
So, if any listener can find another hog-eating baby motif, please let us know.
I mean, we just did Alice in Wonderland, in which a baby is slightly consumed by pigness.
Yeah, you're pushing that.
Okay,
yeah,
you're right.
That's something I read, and it was very good. I enjoyed it. It's enjoyable. I read it because I supposedly...
Well said.
We all know that A Fistful of Dollars is based on Kurosawa's Yojimbo, but I read a paper that was saying Yojimbo is in turn based on Red Harvest, and you can kind of see that, but I don't think... I mean, that idea of some guy playing off a whole load of people against each other is not... I mean, it's like a kind of commedia dell'arte thing, isn't it? So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a bit of a trope.
Yeah.
I think that might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but it was really good, and it was horrible as well, but very good. What about you? What you read?
Because you and I have a very large text coming up for the podcast, I've been focusing just on getting our books for this season done.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to read for fun. But I have seen some TV. I watched Baby Reindeer, which this is probably going to be slightly dated by the time this episode comes out, because I know already the moment has passed in which we are doing Baby Reindeer discourse. It was very good, but it made me incredibly anxious. I had to watch the whole thing from sort of behind my phone because I couldn't bear the full weight of the blast on me from looking at the TV.
Yeah, it sounded a bit like it would upset me.
It's a great show in that your default reaction is, I would have done things so much differently. But then I think it forces you to also say, but this is so weird and unpredictable. Would you, in the heat of the moment, can all of our decisions be sort of in this perfect, because plenty of us make decisions where it's, in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that. I also saw a film that I enjoyed, sort of perfect summer film. I saw Dev Patel's Monkey Man.
Don't know what that is. I know Dev Patel, obviously. The heartthrob of the noughties. What is it then anyway, Monkey Man?
Monkey Man, it's
about a man who's a bit like a monkey.
No.
Oh.
It's...
Monkey's a bit like a man.
No. It's John Wick in India.
Oh.
Basically. So it's a great sort of blockbustery revenge caper. But I didn't realize he directed it. And I was thinking, for a first-time director, he's very confident. Like, he had a great eye for imagery. It's not a perfect movie. But all I kept thinking was, oh my god, this is what Guy Ritchie could be if he ever updated his style. It was an elevated Guy Ritchie movie. And I thought it was loads of fun. It was beautiful to look at. I'm interested to see what else he does as a director. He knows what he's doing. What about you? Do you have anything else? Have you been watching anything?
Music.
You've been watching the music?
Yeah. I've been listening to 3 albums on repeat. Those are the Performance soundtrack. Have you ever seen Performance, the 1970 film with Mick Jagger?
No, I have not.
It's pretty wild stuff.
Okay.
But it's got a lot of good slide guitar, blues slide guitar with tabla. That was a good period for tabla on film soundtracks.
Okay.
And it's got a very good song by Mick Jagger. And another really good one by Randy Newman, actually.
Ugh.
Cosmic Sounds, The Zodiac. The first ever album to have a Moog synthesizer in it. And it's pretty weird stuff. Pretty crazy.
Okay.
And Cavalieri's Rappresentazione dell'anima e del corpo. Representation of the soul and the body. Which some argue was the first ever opera.
Oh, that's
Came out in
fun.
1600. It's very good. But what I read, I just read this on Wikipedia, so it could be wrong, but that when opera got invented, they thought it was a restoration thing, because they thought that ancient Greek theatre was actually sung through. So they thought they were just bringing back an art form, whereas in fact they were inventing it.
Oh, that's
so
really neat.
But so that's what I've been up to.
Very posh.
That's me. That's just the kind of eclectic sort of music and stuff I do. Just an interesting person all around, really.
And meanwhile, I'm here talking about Netflix and Monkey Man.
I mean, listener, you make your own conclusions. I'm not here to pass judgment on other people's tastes. I don't see high or lowbrow. I just see art.
Okay, guys. Well, we will be back next week with our episode on Alice's, Adventures Through the Looking Glass?
Something like that, what she found there.
Just the Looking Glass, something.
Mirrors.
The Alice in Wonderland sequel. You know what we're talking about. So yeah, you're going to hear from us every week for a little bit. How tedious for you. I'm so sorry. Thank you for listening. Follow us on social media, subscribe wherever you listen, and we will see you next week.
See ya. Thank you. Ta-ra. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Save Me From My Shelf. Our music is The Overture to Don Giovanni by Mozart, and cover art is by Catherine Wu. Our thanks to Aston University's Centre for Critical Inquiry into Society and Culture for funding the startup of this podcast. Contact us at savemefrommyshelf@gmail.com or at SMFMS_podcast on Twitter. And do not, I'm going to remind you, do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Do not forget. Thank you.